This is an alarming escalation. We've been speculating like mad about who could be responsible for this. Obviously, the most clear candidate is Israel, but there are other candidates. What's your theory about who may be behind this attack?
Well, there are lots of candidates, and we have to remember that Soleimani wasn't just an IRGC commander. He was the commander of the Quds Force, and the Quds Force are effectively a law unto themselves within even the IRGC. They're the ones that carry out all of the covert liaisons with the different disparate Iranian-backed groups in Iraq, in Syria, with Lebanese Hezbollah. They will have been the ones that have been negotiating with Hamas and quietly training them and equipping them. And it's not just in that area, they're doing it across the Middle East. So he will be enemy number one, not just to the United States, because the Quds Force are designated as a terrorist organization, but there's no way the United States would carry out this sort of incident inside Iran against unknown numbers of individuals. Israel is a distinct possibility, and continuing to stir the pot to send a very clear message to Iran to say, stop pushing things elsewhere. But we've also got Saudi Arabia, and we've got the traditional civil war that's fighting between Saudi Arabia and Iran, the Sunni Shia civil war that's being fought out by proxy in Yemen and elsewhere. And there's elements there. But of course, there's elements throughout Iran itself, because the Quds Force and Soleimani and those that are his immediate supporters have carried out an awful lot of violent acts then. So it could just be an act of revenge about coming from some people in Iran itself.
I mean, what is interesting about this particular development is that I think a number of people who observe geopolitics would say Iran has stirred up a lot of trouble in the Middle East and essentially exited stage left. And if anything, this could well start bringing Iran back into the conflict. Who's going to be most likely motivated to want to see that happen? Is that likely to happen?
Well, again, there's two elements to the Iranian government. One is the government that we'd understand, and the other is the revolutionary side run by the religious leader. And there's friction between the two of them, and therefore this could be internal politics trying to stir one up to continue its push for a wider regional conflict. It's too early to say with any of this. We can say with a degree of certainty it's definitely not the United States, even though it was the United States that killed Soleimani in the first place. Israel, in your analysis, you sort of ruled them in and then ruled them out, and I'd agree with that completely at this stage, and knowing what's in there. And I'd say the other players that are in it are Saudi and internal forces, and I would hedge my bets at the moment on most likely a bit of internal strife, because people will have known who's going to be attending this commemoration service, who's going to be attending his tomb at that time, and they will have been targeting probably specific people in the convoy as they're moving there, or in the crowd that's there. So we'll have to see who of significance has been killed in this.
Now, Philip, if you take into account the alarming rising of tension in the Red Sea, I mean, that situation is on a knife edge, obviously, with the Houthi rebels and America and Britain saying, unless you stop attacking ships going through this Suez Canal, then, we're going to attack you. That is terrifying. So if you take this attack in Iran into account, with all your theories properly respected, of course, is it possible that somebody carried this out who wants to start World War III?
Oh, well, someone who wants to simulate a wider regional conflict, yes, and that is another step on a path to World War III. There's a lot of other steps that would have to come into place, but yeah, it could easily be. The thing with the Houthis attacking into the Red Sea and elsewhere is the Houthis have got no real interest outside supporting Iran's wider objectives to do that whatsoever. They've suddenly come out and declared their support for Hamas, and the fact that they need to attack Israel and everything else. So they're having difficulty in stopping the Yemeni government, which is backed by the Saudi Arabian coalition, and they're having enough difficulty fighting with them. There's no military logic or even political logic for them to take that one step further without there being Iran trying to use them as a sort of plausibly deniable little bad boy, which is what I think they're doing. So there's definitely Iranian influence that's trying to regionalize this conflict, and that could be on a stepping stone if there's wider influence coming in, which I think there could be from Vladimir Putin and elsewhere, to turn this into a much bigger conflict and potentially the next step to a global conflict.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Philip. I've actually got my list of who might have done it in front of me. And in the US, I'd put
65
cross. Israel, I'd
countries
put cross. Iran, another faction in Iran, was up there. And the other one I'd circled was Russia, because, of course, as you said, it's very interesting the role that Putin plays, trying to destabilise things so he can get away with continuing to bombard Ukraine, which is also accelerating at the moment.
Yes, well, you mentioned again in your analysis Vagner, and you tried to say that IRGC is the sort of Vagner of Iran's military, and in a way it is. But I think the underlying bit within all of this is that you've got different groupings, different military groupings, and one of the things that underpins a lot of them is business. You know, it's money that derives things, and there's clearly big business between Iran and Russia with the supply of the Shahad 136 and 131 drones. There's clearly more business going in there. There's definite business links between Iran and North Korea, and we've got North Korea linked to Russia. So there are other factors to play in here that whether it was Russia involved in doing this, I doubt it. I can't see them getting anything immediately to gain out of it. But again, when you're getting into that factional piece and you're trying to undermine those that have got business leaders, Soleimani was making more money from the sidelines that he'd been working on commanding the Quds force and the terror that he could bring in than he would have done from any salary that he got from the Iranian government for being an IRGC commander. There's a lot of corruption underpins all of this because it's all power. It's all about power. So this will be something to do with that wider power play, I'm sure.
Do you expect, Philip, in the next hours, maybe the next few days, for a series of denials to come in? America saying it wasn't us, Israel saying it wasn't us, and so on and so forth. Would that be the agenda over the next few days?
Oh, of course. It'll come out, and there'll either be silence, complete silence, as we're seeing with Israel over the strike, taking out the Hamas deputy commander, or we will get denials that are coming out as accusations are made in the press. The whole thing about something like this is people want to keep the reality behind it as much of a secret as possible, especially if there's it's wider influence operations that are going on from a business perspective or a terror perspective or something else. It's only if there's a clear-cut military reason, and that's why the Americans admitted to the assassination of Soleimani very, very quickly indeed, because of the weapon system that they used, because it was sending a clear message to disparate groups inside Iraq at the time not to deal with the IRGC and the Quds force, and a clear message into the Quds force saying, you go and play in our territory and we'll deal with you.